Zach Peay, Jamar Perkins. It's crunch time. Live in the studios of Austin Peay. Zach Peay, joined as always by Jamar Perkins. Jamar, got to get straight into it. How was your weekend, buddy?
Man, it was good. Got to relax. Basketball, that's always nice. Some fun basketball games, some surprising games we watched. But no, other than that, it was really fun. How about you?
Great for weekend, chance to kind of catch a couple of the wonderful March Madness basketball games, and then just overall a chance to work on some lovely grad stuff. Obviously, it's full swing for myself. I'm constantly busy with these classes. But, man, I am excited to talk about some college basketball. First, I want to congratulate the Lady Governors for finishing fifth in the overall WIB tournament that they were a part of. They would lose in the second round and then make it into the consolation bracket. They'd make it to the consolation final and unfortunately lose in that final. But fifth overall in a WIB tournament, great for recruiting and all that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's a recruiting aspect to be able to get those wins, a 21 season after that tournament. That's what Coach Brittany Young and her squad was able to do. So I'm really excited to see that and was excited. Also, I know we didn't put it in the rundown. Want to add to it a little bit as far as women's basketball. Yep. Belmont women's basketball. They defeated Oregon in the first round. Almost knocked off Tennessee. I was watching the game. Very interesting game. But shout out to Belmont women's basketball because they did a good job as far as representing the OVC in the women's side of the college tournament. But I know you're ready to get into some college basketball action with the men's side.
I am definitely ready to talk about this March Madness as we've had an interesting time. All of us here in the studio have started working on variations of brackets and stuff like that. Some of us have brackets outside of the studio to be able to try to make a little bit of money. I'm not going to talk about those brackets. We are going to talk about our studio bracket as we have finally reached the Sweet 16. We had round 1 and round 2 happen while we were away, obviously. Sweet 16, I'm 8 of 16. I'll take those odds. 50-50 is better than not 50-50. So, but a lot of upsets. The first one in round 1, the most major upset that broke everybody's bracket, St. Peter's beating Kentucky. Kentucky loses to St. Peter's. Guard Daryl Banks III scores 27 points. And I'm probably going to butcher this last name, but guard Doug Edert, I think is how you say that.
I think it's Edert.
Edert? All right. Yeah, let's do that instead. Yeah, Edert sounds better. 20 points for them. They led the Peacocks in scoring, and they would win in overtime.
Yeah.
The game itself in OT was just a completely different game. Kentucky didn't show up for overtime, but they were there for the first two halves. I imagine you've got some more about this game.
No, I mean, just looking at it, it was crazy. I was sitting here watching it like, is this really going to happen? Like, is Coach Cal really about to, are they really about to lose this game? And just looking at it, I mean, we've seen this happen. We've seen 15 seeds do this. So it's like, it's surprising, but it can't be super surprising. And then I liked one interview the head coach for the Peacocks, they talked about, he said, we're from, Jersey. Most of our kids from Jersey and New York. We're not scared of anybody. Like, we weren't coming into this scared. And I mean, that's the mindset you talk about. These kids, they're playing tough on defense. They're playing hard. They see these 5-star, 4-star recruits. They're not scared of them. And that's the mindset you have to go into when it comes to March Madness. And that's what they did. And that's why they were able to knock off the two Kentucky teams in Kentucky and Murray State. So I'm happy for them. Purdue is a different monster, I think. So I don't know, but I'm not counting them out. I say it could be competitive. I definitely agree, but when it comes to Jaden Ivey for Purdue, he's a sophomore playing very well, and I think he's going to give St. Peter's some problems.
And we're going to talk, of course, more about the Sweet 16 for St. Peter's. We'll give a little bit of recap on the upcoming game as well, and what we think is going to happen with that Sweet 16, since the next time that we'll talk about college basketball, the Final Four will be happening. Got to love those weekend games, right?
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the major 2 round upsets. Tennessee Vols, the SEC championship. Tennessee Vols lose to Michigan. Sorry, Reese, about that one. Center Hunter Dickinson, 11 rebounds, 27 points, and guard Eli Brooks, 23 points, led the Wolverines to a victory over the SEC championship Volunteers. It was a very odd game. I didn't get a chance to see much of it. I saw kind of mostly highlights off this game. I was watching something else at the time. I did not expect this. I did not expect this. I thought they'd at least make it to the Sweet 16. No. It's very disappointing for the Vols. I know that. I know that a lot of the Vols have jumped on the St. Peter's bandwagon, which is a good thing for a lot of people, but very rough game to see.
It was rough for Tennessee. Like I said, I thought that, after seeing Tennessee win that SEC tournament, I thought, okay, they're here. They're ready. They're going to do some things. And then just to see them lose to Michigan, I didn't see that coming. But shout out to Michigan. Thinking about despite all the Juwan Howard problems that went on early in the season, it's nice to kind of see them get past that and win some tournament games. But really, when you look at the SEC, it was tough for them. You talk about Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee, all out of there. That's kind of tough to see those teams.
Speaking of Auburn, that's the next upset. Auburn loses to Miami. Guard Cameron Mcgusty, 20 points, and Isaiah Wong, 21 points, led the team to beat the number 2 seeded Tigers. Miami is coming out of nowhere. They're coming out of left field because honestly, I don't think anybody, except for maybe the Miami Hurricane fans themselves, predicted the fact that they were going to win these games against Auburn. Auburn was coming in predicted to make it to the Final Four, if not win it all, by a lot of people, including Stephen A. Smith, if memory serves correctly. So not fun to see. I imagine Barkley's not happy about it either.
No.
He's not excited about that. You got anything on that game?
I mean, funny thing that I saw when it came to the Miami head coach.
Yeah.
He at a post-game interview, he said he saw something online or whatever that Charles Barkley said that if Auburn won the game, he was going to take his shirt off. And the head coach was like, I don't think anybody wanted to see that. So I told, we had to get it done. And so Miami ended up winning the game, of course.
Even Auburn was like, no, we don't want that to happen.
They might have taken that game on purpose.
But that's a terrible idea.
But no, college basketball this weekend was ridiculously crazy. And I know, look, moving on to it, Wisconsin, Iowa State. That was
number
a game.
3, number 11. Yeah, that was a game for sure. Gabe Kalsher, I think is how you say that.
Yeah.
22 points, and guard Isaiah Brockington, had 10 points. Not a lot of points for that game against Iowa and the Badgers, but the Badgers just couldn't really do good. They had great rebounding. They led the rebounds in 33-31, but ultimately they just couldn't sink any of the final shots that they were going for. Mm-hmm. It just looked like a team that all of a sudden knew they weren't going to make it.
And Wisconsin at a 3 seed, I kind of knew that they weren't going to do too much, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting them to go far. So to see them lose to Iowa State was a little surprising, but to see them lose wasn't. So it was, happy for Iowa State. They're not a team that normally is in the conversation when you talk about the Sweet 16. So, good for them.
The Sweet 16 starts March 25th to March 24th and 25th. So we've got tomorrow and Friday, obviously, is when those games are going to happen. So we're going to cover the first games. I'm going to mention the game, and you're going to just tell me what you think about who's coming out of them.
Okay.
And then I'll give my little small standpoint, and then we'll move on to the next one. So the first game I want to talk about, obviously, out of the West, is the only West bracket that I got perfectly right so far. Gonzaga and Arkansas. What do you think?
Gonzaga, Chet Holmgren is going to have to play tough, and he's going to have to play like he did in the first round. Arkansas is definitely capable. They have some nice guards. I think if Chet Holmgren does not score at least 15 points and has at least 12 rebounds, I think they lose. So I think it all depends on his performance.
The Razorbacks defensively are a very good team. Zaga has dealt with teams like this, for instance, Memphis in the round 2. Round 1, they didn't really have much of a fight against Georgia State. I mean, not until at least the last part of that second half. They just dropped way too many points. I think I'd like to see the Razorbacks take this win. They are the underdog coming in. Zaga is a heavily favorite team to go into the Final Four, if not be one of the teams that brings in the national championship home, cutting the net. So I hope Arkansas wins that game. Personally, even though I've got Zaga in the bracket winning that game. Okay. Duke and Texas Tech, we already know what I'm going to say, so I'm not gonna even talk about that one.
Extremely close game, I'm predicting. But when you look at Texas Tech, you kind of think to yourself, who have they beaten? And it's like Montana State, Notre Dame. So it's like, they haven't really beaten a good team like Duke, which, Duke is inconsistent too. So I think it's a very close game. I'm going to put Duke. I'll agree with you. I'm going to say have Duke in this one.
Yeah, I just think Duke's going to walk out of that one. Texas Tech hasn't played anybody as to the caliber that Duke is on the court, even though Duke is not the same Duke team that we were used to seeing. But Coach K is proving that he is the GOAT of coaching when it comes to these tournaments, and he is proving to get his team going there. A bracket that I didn't think about in the East, UCLA versus North Carolina. I didn't expect any of these two teams to go in. I thought it was going to be St. Mary's and Baylor because I was predicting the upset for North Carolina or for UCLA, but it's UCLA and North Carolina. What do you think?
I got North Carolina. They're playing good ball. Looking at it, I really, like I said, they were a team that's kind of a sleeper team. They're one of my sleeper teams in the Sweet 16. I think they could go as far as Final Four. They've been playing good basketball, so definitely them. I think I'll take North Carolina.
All right. And then the last one in the East, St. Peter's, who got the win over Kentucky, beat Murray. They now have a outstanding challenge to face against the number 3 seeded Purdue. Purdue, a very good team, and not one to sleep on for sure. Who do you think?
Can the peacocks fly? Like, can peacocks, like the actual bird? Like,
I don't
know.
Are
they flightless birds? I think they might
have no idea.
They're not flying. They're not flying to the Elite Eight.
You don't think so?
Purdue's shutting that down. No, they had their nice run. It was cool, but I think we see who the better team is. We're going to see who the better team is and who belongs there when Purdue. That's what I said.
I got to agree with you. Yale is not a bad team to face against Purdue. Beat them by almost 20 points. Then they face Texas. They beat Texas by 10 points. Texas is no slouch in college basketball, not whatsoever. Not discrediting St. Peter's run against number 2 Kentucky and number 15 Murray State, both teams that were ranked nationally going into this tournament. St. Peter's is playing great ball. They could very well get the upset. I'd love to see the upset happen, but let's be real about it and be honest that Purdue has just got a great basketball team, and it's tough not to see that. Let's move on over to the South bracket. Arizona and Houston. Didn't have Houston come into this myself, but I'm happy to see that they're there. I just don't think anyone's beaten Arizona in that bracket.
Man, Houston's too good. Houston, I'll take Houston, honestly. And I saw that TCU-Arizona game, man. TCU had that game. It was in their fingertips, and just a tough break. Ended up losing that one. But I got to go with Houston, in my opinion. Arizona, though, they're tough.
Good.
They have they have two key players for the team that are really nice.
When I think of the Arizona Wildcats, I think of resiliency. It's the fact of it is they're never out of the game. They're always kind of staying into it. So even if the game's close, they're going to be good. I think it's a close game for sure.
I'm gonna change my answer. I'm gonna say Arizona. If my mouth wants to say Houston, but if I was thinking with my pockets, I would probably say Arizona.
Your pocket says Arizona.
So that's what I'm gonna say.
My gut's with you on Arizona right there. I don't think Houston's taking it over. We got Villanova and Michigan. I thought Tennessee would be in this. Michigan, of course, beats Tennessee, so it's now Villanova and Michigan. I think Villanova is walking out with it. They've just got the experience. They're a good team on the court. Michigan's got size. That's the best part about Michigan and the Wolverines. Yeah. So if Villanova can utilize their size against them, maybe they got a chance.
And talking about the size, that'll be key to shutting down Hunter Dickinson. He scored 27 points on Tennessee, so he's gonna, if they can slow them down as far as Villanova, if they can slow Michigan's Dickinson down, that'll be key.
Yeah, and then let's move back to the Midwest. Midwest, this is the last bracket for the Sweet 16. We got Kansas, Providence playing each other. We got Iowa State and Miami.
Kansas all the way, and let me take that Miami team. Miami team's some dogs.
Miami look good after getting past the Auburn Tigers. It's hard to project Miami not making it past Iowa State, who did not have to face a team that was as good as Auburn was.
When you beat Auburn, number 2 seed,
you get some recognition.
18 points.
Yeah.
You got to get some respect going into the next round.
Oh yeah, and I think it's a good call to give Miami the upset over. Well, technically not the upset based off of where they were seated, but anyways, I think it's a good enough credit to give them there to make it to the Elite Eight. If we were to go for the Elite Eight, I want to talk about this. Actually, let's change that transition. We've looked at the Sweet 16. We've looked at seeing who we think is going to win and go to the Elite Eight. Obviously, we can't pick a winner of the Elite Eight because we don't have the official bracket for that, right? But out of all these teams, who's the team that surprised you the most, Jamar?
Obviously, St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
That's like the typical answer. I mean, the 15 seed. But really, Iowa State and Miami, just both of them being in that Midwest going against each other. And I don't think anyone really would have predicted that. So that's something impressive. And I think that's really my key as far as surprising. What about you?
It's St. Peter's all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, the team broke the bracket instantly for 90% of the country that was doing bracket builder off of I think CBS Sports or NCAA or whichever. I think it's CBS Sports who that was. So I mean, they broke the bracket instantly. I mean, they imploded everything. So it's got to be them. They've got a historic run. I think that they lose to Purdue, but if they beat Purdue, I'd love to see them in the Elite Eight. I'd love to see them in the Final Four if they move past that. I don't think it's going to happen.
If St. Peter's beats Purdue, then I'd probably pick them to win over UCLA or North Carolina.
Oh yeah, at that point, Purdue's legit. The better team of those teams. So, but moving on, I want to go over to some NBA standings and news. Currently in the NBA, in the East, the Heat lead with 47-25, Bucks 45-27, 76ers in third with 44-27, Celtics, then the Bulls, the Cavs, Raptors, Nets, Hornets, and Hawks. Hawks are rounding out the Eastern Division or Eastern Conference, at 500, 36-36. Remember, 10 teams, the top 10 teams go to the playoffs. And then there's the little play-in that they do with 10 and 9 and 7 and 8 and all that. But with the West, we've got the Suns leading with 58-14. The Grizzlies are in second with 49-23. The Warriors are slowly starting to fall thanks to the injuries that are happening to them. Then we got the Jazz, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, Clippers, Lakers, and Pelicans. A couple of things.
Yeah.
Zion is out for the rest of the season. He's missed the entire season with a foot injury. He's 1 year left in his contract, right? Yesterday, roughly around yesterday to this morning, he posts this dunking video, the backboard between the legs dunk that he did. That foot looks fine. Off that dunk, that foot looks fine.
I've never understood professional injuries sometimes because it's like, I mean, it's really like, if they were playing high school or something like that, they'd be playing right now. But it's like NBA takes it a little different. They take it a lot more serious. Don't want to stress an injury. But personally, he probably could be out there averaging about 12 and 8 if he's playing right now. But
I mean, something's better than nothing.
Easier to take it safe. And honestly, I think his days with the Pelicans might be over.
That's what I was about to ask. He's got 1 year left in his contract, right? He's not due a lot of money. I think he's dealt during the offseason. There's no way that he's not at this point. He's missed 2 years. because of injury. I mean, at this point, some team's going to have to take a shot on him. I think that team may be at the Lakers or somebody who.
I like the Knicks. Put on RJ Barrett again.
Oh, that would be good.
Duke Brotherhood. Maybe Coach K and just coaching at Duke. Goes to coach the New York Knicks.
That's some dastardly connections right there, Jamar. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
The other one I want to talk about, Steph Curry, hurt. The Warriors not playing good basketball without him. They've lost their last 2 games. And when Draymond was interviewed, you could tell Draymond is not happy. In fact, mentioning that they're not playing good basketball without Steph Curry.
I'll let it.
He's looking like he's going to be out at least 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'll let it out there. I'm a Warriors fan, so this hurts. And I watched the game last night against the Magic. I was so disappointed. The Magic. We lost to the Magic.
No, I know.
No, Steph being hurt is critical. What really I see critical for the Warriors is they are that 3 seed right now, and they really need to get that 2 seed. Because if they're the 3 seed, then they'll meet the Suns in the quarterfinals. They really would rather play the Suns in conference finals. They would play the Suns in that round right before the conference finals. So if you want to get as much games as you can, so you can have a healthy Curry to play the Suns in the conference finals, and that's what they need to get, that 2 seed. So really, the Grizzlies, they're only 2 games. There's a 2-game difference between the Grizzlies and the Warriors with a couple of games left in the season. So really taking over that 2 spot is huge. But if they're playing games and losing to the Magic, I don't know if that's possible.
As the Grizzlies fan of the group, I'm going to say that I'm happy Grizzlies are in second place, right?
Ja Morant, he's hurt too right now.
He is, but they're still looking really good on the court, which is a good thing. The difference between the 2 teams is that the Warriors have been more heavily dependent upon Steph, whereas the Grizzlies have been heavily depending upon Morant, but just not as much as Curry is with the Warriors.
I wish I had gotten tickets to this game, but with the Nets too, we'll talk about the East here in a second, but the Grizzlies play the Nets tonight without Ja Morant, 20-piece at the minimum. Kyrie
is that in Memphis?
It's in Memphis.
I was about to say,
we're getting
so
Kyrie.
That's Kyrie's going to play.
Kyrie.
So yeah,
probably his last game of the season.
Yeah, Grizzlies aren't winning that game. I hate to say that as the fan.
But as far as the East, really quick, the Nets, they're a team that they're trying to get that, like I said, the play-in spot. I really want to play their angle too with no Kyrie. It's tough, and I don't know what I kept saying. I think that Kyrie's going to get to play in New York soon. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if at any point in time they're going to say, you know what, you could play at home, Kyrie. I don't know if they're going to let that happen for him. So that's a little.
I think it's now up to the NBA and less about New York at this point, right? I mean, because at this point, New York's kind of letting him go wherever he wants to go, where he's there, or Brooklyn. Yeah. Sorry, it's the same thing. But,
some people
don't get mad at me about that. I know there's different boroughs and stuff. So I'm gonna get hate mail now on our Twitter account and our Instagram account. Speaking of which, I want to do that plug. Thank you, Reese Britt, for our Twitter account and our Instagram account. You can find us at APSU Crunchtime. Just type in at APSU Crunchtime. No hyphen in between, no exclamation point at the end of it, and you will find us on Twitter. Ask us questions. We are always wanting to talk to people that listen to our show, and we want to be able to create this connection with all of you. So if you got questions about wanting to know who's going where, for instance, Rumor Mill, when we get to the Rumor Mill segment for the NFL or anything like that, you can always ask us through that thing, through those forms of social media, and we will happily answer those questions on our next show. But you said you wanted to talk a little bit more. You got anything else on that on NBA?
NBA too. Want to talk? Like we're talking about, they're trying to get this 2 seed.
Yeah.
For the Warriors, they're resting Green, Thompson, and Porter Jr. today for the Warriors. So, and they're playing the Heat. So I don't think.
Why? Why would you rest all of those players against a good team?
They played yesterday.
Yeah, fair.
Against the Magic.
Fair.
It's like, but if anything, I guess normally they do rest towards the back end of a game. But I would have rather them rest against the Magic and play against the Heat.
Heat is leading in the East, and you're going to literally take almost all of your good players.
That's more than likely another L.
Yeah, that is, and that puts them closer and closer to the Jazz. They're only 2 games up on the Jazz right now, man.
Exactly. You don't want that 4-5 matchup.
No, you definitely don't want that 4-5 matchup.
Mavericks, Luka does magical things in the playoffs.
Yes, he does, and Luka's magical regardless.
Yeah.
But I want to move into real quick, real fast, the NHL standings. The trade deadline just ended for the NHL, for the Hockey League. Top 8 teams go to the playoffs. The reigning Stanley Cup champion is actually in this as well. So we've got Florida for the Eastern Conference. We have Florida, Carolina, Pittsburgh, New York Rangers, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston, and Washington. Tampa Bay Lightning being the reigning Stanley Cup champion. Right now, it's looking like Tampa Bay's got, if they were to get seeded tomorrow, Tampa Bay would probably have a really good seeding, a really low seed, and have a good shot to make a run again for this cup. In the West, I want to talk about Colorado, Calgary, St. Louis, Minnesota, Nashville, Los Angeles, Edmonton, and then Dallas rounding out the top 8 there. To talk about Nashville, Nashville's my sleeper team right now going to the Stanley Cup. You and I have talked a little about this. Saros is looking great, their goalie, but Jamar, you talked about the games that they've had.
Yeah, no, they've won 7 of their last 10 games looking at it. Obviously, they got waxed by the Kings last last night.
Yeah,
but
6-1. Not a fun game to watch.
But looking at it, Predators, they're 19-11 at home, 18-12 away. I would like to see them do a little bit better on their home ice, because you look at a team like Colorado, they're 25-3-3 at home. So I mean, that's competing, and they're 20-10 away. But like, just looking at it, Nashville Predators are always that team. I think that they're capable of doing special things, but
it's an oddity to see the Predators are struggling at home when they've been such a home team for so long the last few years, and they've been so bad at away. Now the script is flipped with the new coach that they've had this year, the realignment of their lineups and their lines that they have in general, the addition of losing Rene and having Saros come in as the full-time goalie. It's a lot of transitional stuff, and yet they're still being competitive. Yeah. They've got a chance to maybe get a Stanley Cup. You know, I've got them having a chance at least, but. Excuse me, sorry. You still got to get past Florida and Colorado. Avalanche is playing great for Colorado, and you can't discredit how good the Avalanche have been in the West. So, but I want to move into the NFL news. We've got a lot to cover here in the NFL. Yeah. First thing I want to talk about before talking about any of the trades or anything like that, there are 3 clubs that have proposed OT rule changes right now. The Colts and Eagles both want teams to have an opportunity to possess the ball in overtime. Okay, I agree with that. I think that should be a thing that needs to be allowed. Let both teams possess the ball at least once, because right now it's judged off a coin flip and who has the most gas on their defense or offense left. The Titans have offered the same deal, but their exception to the fact of it is that if the first team scores a touchdown and a successful 2-point conversion, the game is over. Yeah. I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to give the teams both opportunities, then don't give yourself an out if you don't let the first team. You know what I mean?
If I'm being honest with you, man, the original overtime rules are good to me. Defense wins championships. So
they do.
if you get on the floor and they win the coin toss, you count on your defense to get the stop, and that's how I see it. So I think, but if I disagree with you again, I like the Titans. I like, both teams get a chance. Okay, that's cool. But if you go there and your defense allows a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, you don't deserve the ball back. And that's how I see it. So I like the Titans proposal.
Based off what you're saying, I'm not too disheartened by what the Titans are trying to say at that point. It's not a bad thing. My idea is that you get down the field and you score, right? The other team doesn't get a possession of the ball if you get that 2-point conversion. You have Derrick Henry at running back. Of course, you're going to offer to have a 2-point conversion successful attempt. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL.
From him, that is.
So to me, as the competitor, I'm like, no, I'm not taking that. You got one of the guys, man. You know. So who would you rather see coming at you on the 5-yard line, Derrick Henry or somebody else?
Obviously somebody else.
Yeah, right. So I mean, if I had to take that bet of who's getting that 2-point conversion, I'm giving it to Henry all day.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals real quick. Have signed 3 offensive linemen: La'el Collins from the Cowboys, Alex Kappa from the Buccaneers, and Ted Karras. I think I'm saying that right, from the Patriots. Great addition.
I'm clapping right now.
Great addition.
Huge addition for the Bengals.
The problem is will they be healthy? That's my question mark. La'el Collins has injury problems. He's not played a full season the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Patriots guy Alex Karras has played full seasons, but he's been more of a borderline guy. And then Kappa was a great guy for the Buccaneers. Actually, a lot of people thought he was going back to the Bucs once Brady came out of retirement, but that didn't happen. So the question is, can they stay healthy? And I don't know.
We'll see, but I love it for the Bengals, and I think that it'll be huge for the team. I mean, it's literally what people talked about. They need O-line, and now they made that move, so let's see what happens.
What I mentioned real fast is we obviously know Deshaun Watson has been traded to the Browns for 6 picks, given 3 first rounds, 1 third round, and 2 fourths. He is obviously cleared to play, but he has not received an NFL suspension yet. At minimum, could be 4 games. That is great news for anybody that's in that division that he might not play for 4 games. But the Browns are just going crazy right now. They signed 2 quarterbacks. They signed him. They also get Jacoby Brissett from the Colts. Baker's gone. We'll talk about rumor mill in just a second. Matt Ryan to the Colts. Marcus Mariota finally gets a starting job.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been waiting for that day.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota finally gets a starting job with the Falcons. I'm super happy for his opportunity. Even though everyone's dogging him and giving him crap for that, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston back in New Orleans for 2 years. I don't like the 2-year contract, but I think it's cool that Winston's back. The Chiefs officially today, breaking news, they trade for Tyreek Hill for 5 picks, a first round, a second round, 2 fourth rounds, and a 6th round pick as well. And Cheetah re-signed a contract, right?
Yeah, 4-year, $120 million.
Yeah, that's insane.
The highest paid receiver of all time, beating Devontae Adams. And that makes me question, too. But looking at it, I like the situation. So we see, as far as talking now in the Chiefs trade, we're seeing Patrick Mahomes is losing his number 1 receiver. So now we're going to see, is Patrick Mahomes really that guy? Is he that next Brady? Who is, he just lost Tyreek Hill. What is he going to do? Obviously, he has Juju. So that's a nice addition for him, at least kind of somewhat of a replacement. But at the other end, Tua. Is he this guy that everybody's hyping him up to be? Because people have really been like saying he's not the guy. He's not the guy. Think about even his own coach. People talked about that he wasn't really in support of him. So now we're gonna see Tua with some weapons. I mean, he's got Waddle, Jalen Waddle. He's got Hill now. He has Gesicki at the tight end position.
Who they franchise tag.
Yeah. He has
Morset at running back, who they just brought from San Francisco.
Mostert. So he has a couple of options. So now we're gonna see Tua. You got it now. Let's you got the keys. Let's see what you can do.
Well, I want to touch base about this real quick. As rumor mill wise, Baker Mayfield, where is he gonna go? Right now, Panthers need a quarterback. So does technically Seattle. I think Drew Lock is a quarterback that should stay. So I mean, I think Carolina is probably in the conversation for Baker Mayfield. Or does Pittsburgh sign him and make him compete? Regardless of wherever Mayfield goes, he's probably competing for a starting job. I mean, most likely will be the backup. But there's still a lot of names in free agency. What I want to ask you, Jamar, because we don't have a lot of time left, what's impressed you the most with this NFL free agency? What team has done the most work for you? What do you think? Who's winning free agency right now? And obviously some people would want to say the Buccaneers because Brady coming out of retirement. But what do you think?
No, I mean, when you look at it, the Bengals. I mean, literally they were a Super Bowl away and they didn't get it because of their offensive line, in my opinion. So I think you get that strong offensive line. Literally, what's stopping them from going back to that Super Bowl now?
Not much.
Other than what you said, injuries.
No, not much.
I like the Bengals moves, man.
I think the Bengals are one of the teams that I've been impressed with. I like the Browns moves. I think the Browns have made the really good moves. I think ultimately the Raiders have been my favorite team so far for their moves with bringing Devontae over, fixing some holes in the defense, and as well. And the Chargers do the same thing.
That's what I was going to say.
That AFC West teams are looking great. And to your point with Patrick Mahomes, we've got a lot of question marks around him. It looks like their offensive scheme's changing over to possession instead of speed. They're getting rid of Cheetah that way. So maybe that's a change that we're going to see because of the style of defenses they're going to have to face in their own division. Yeah. What do you think about this Marcus Mariota to the Falcons?
I like it. I like it. It's a 2-year deal. And I think Falcons, we'll see how they play. I've talked to a Falcon fan. He's really just thinking this is going to be until they get their franchise rookie quarterback.
One more year on a contract or something.
They'll get Bryce out of Alabama. That's what he's thinking, you know. So
I don't know about that one. You got to lose games for that to happen.
But I don't know. I mean, in this division, I like Saints. I'm gonna like Saints versus Falcons. I'm gonna like watching those games 2 times a year. I think those are gonna be some competitive games.
Mariota versus Winston. Mariota has the record over Winston. Just to let you know, back when the Titans faced the Bucs did not fare well against the Tennessee Titans. Mariota.
Wow, but the Bucs, I think they're gonna run. They're gonna run.
The NFC wise, that's my pick right now. I don't know who from the AFC I've got coming out before the draft. I usually do like a bold Super Bowl prediction before the draft.
How are we looking on time? I wanna
a couple minutes left.
So
about 2 minutes.
Tyreek Hill just got that contract.
Yep. For Miami.
Most highest paid? Is he the best receiver in football right now?
No.
Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Devontae Adams.
Stephon Diggs, is he how close is Stephon Diggs to Tyreek Hill?
Is top 3. Top 3 at least.
Who's 2?
Probably Tyreek Hill is 2.
Okay.
I'd give Hill because of the speed and the athleticism, but Devontae Adams is just too good. He's a great possession receiver. He's got great footwork. It's hard to stop him on a one-on-one, man-to-man, or in the zone. You got to triple cover the guy half the time to stop him. And then Hill's not that type of guy. Hill proved that he had issues with man-to-man coverage. I want to real quick talk about this. Matt Ryan to the Colts.
I was going to ask.
That's terrible.
I was going to ask you think that's going to be good. You say terrible.
It's awful.
You don't think
it's awful. You're a franchise that talked about that you want to start rebuilding. Why are you rebuilding when you just brought in a 35-year-old man? Yeah. It doesn't make sense, man.
Is he 35?
I don't know. He's in his 30s.
37.
He's old.
I think he's 37.
He's old regardless.
But I don't know. Some people are saying they think it's going to work. I think Odell was the one. Someone tweeted it was like, I think this Matt Ryan thing is going to work.
And then they're trying to convince Odell to come to Atlanta. My last question to you before we have anything else. Mayfield, where's he going? Where do you think he ends up because he might drop before our next show?
Man.
You think he's going to Carolina?
I don't know.
I think he's going to Carolina.
Bro, I'd rather have Cam Newton than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, but Cam's done. Cam's done now, I think. I don't think Cam's I think he's officially done for forever. I don't think he's coming back. I want to thank everybody for taking their time out for doing our show today. Joanne, thank you for running the boards for us. As always, Steve Sawyer, Doc V, Jay Wicks, David Ellison. We're always appreciative of being able to have you guys for Crunch Time. So. Find us on Twitter at APSU Crunch Time and Instagram at APSU Crunch Time. Ask us questions. We would love to answer those at our next show, and we'll see you next week on Crunch Time.